Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world that looks almost the same as it did yesterday. The sidewalks are still cracked, the coffee shop still steams, but something invisible has shifted. No seed has sprouted, no blade of grass has pushed through the soil, no leaf has unfurled toward the sun, and this is not a world without plants, this is a world where plants have stopped growing. At first, you would not notice. The forests still stand, the wheat fields still wave, the algae still floats on the ocean's surface, but every single one of them is frozen in time, mature, alive, but producing no new cells, no saplings, no seedlings, no next generation. The question is not what happens in 1,000 years. The question is what happens in the first 100 days. For the first week, nothing seems wrong. Existing plants continue to photosynthesize. They still pull carbon dioxide from the air and release oxygen. They still hold soil in place with their roots. Herbivores still graze on living leaves. Life proceeds as normal. But underground, the first rupture has already occurred. Root tips have stopped elongating. Mycorrhizal fungi, those thread-like networks that trade nutrients with plant roots, receive no new sugars. The fungi do not die immediately, but they stop expanding. The silent partnership that feeds most of the terrestrial world has begun to fray. By the end of the first month, the first visible symptoms appear, not in the plants themselves, but in the ground beneath them. Without new root growth, older roots begin to die and decay faster than they are replaced. Soil structure, which depends on living roots to bind particles together, starts to loosen. Rain that once soaked gently into the earth now runs off in sheets, carrying topsoil into rivers. Farmers notice that their fields feel different, crumbly, light, almost dusty. Crops still stand, but they are stressed. A wheat plant that cannot grow, new roots cannot reach deeper water. Irrigated fields fare better, but dryland farms begin to wilt. Yields drop by 20%. No one panics yet. Droughts happen, but this is not a drought. And here is where the math turns brutal. In 60 days, every grazing animal on Earth, every cow, every sheep, every goat, every wildebeest, every rabbit, every insect that chews leaves, depends on new plant growth. Not just on plants, but on new plants. Young leaves are softer, more nutritious, and lower in defensive chemicals than old leaves. By day 60, every plant on Earth is old. Every leaf is tough, fibrous, and laced with the accumulated tannins and toxins that mature plants produce to deter herbivores. Grazers eat more and more but absorb fewer and fewer nutrients. The first mass deaths begin among small herbivores with high metabolisms. Locusts and aphids starve by the tens of billions. Their corpses fertilize nothing, because without new roots nothing can absorb the nutrients. Then come the rabbits, the prairie dogs, the voles. Then the deer and the antelope begin to thin. Livestock agriculture collapses, not because the animals die of hunger, though many do, but because the cost of supplementing their feed becomes astronomical. Old grass has the nutritional value of cardboard. Farmers who cannot afford imported grain, which is also old, also nutritionally degraded, slaughter their herds preemptively. The price of meat, milk, and eggs skyrockets. In day 61 to 90, a common fear about plant loss is oxygen depletion. It is worth understanding this carefully. Atmospheric oxygen is produced by photosynthesis, but it is not consumed only by animals. It is also consumed by fires, by rust, by the slow oxidation of rocks. The current balance, 21% oxygen, is maintained because photosynthesis produces slightly more oxygen than these processes remove. If all plant growth stopped, photosynthesis would continue in existing plants. But those plants are aging. Older leaves photosynthesize less efficiently. Their chlorophyll degrades. By day 90, the global rate of oxygen production has fallen by roughly 40%. Consumption, meanwhile, continues unchanged. Billions of animals still breathe. Fires still burn. Rust still forms. Oxygen levels begin a slow, inexorable decline. Not a collapse that would take years, but a measurable drop. At high altitudes, people notice. Climbers on Everest report extreme fatigue at lower camps. Pilots adjust cabin pressures. Hospitals stock more oxygen tanks. But oxygen is not the immediate crisis. The immediate crisis is carbon dioxide. Day 91 to day 150, existing plants still absorb CO2, but without new leaves, their total absorbing surface area is fixed and shrinking. Decomposers, bacteria and fungi that break down dead organic matter, continue to release CO2 as they work. Normally, new plant growth absorbs that CO2. Now, nothing absorbs it. The atmosphere begins to warm. Not by the familiar fractions of a degree per decade, but by measurable increments each week. Methane trapped in permafrost, no longer held back by the insulating roots of tundra plants, begins to bubble out. The permafrost itself, no longer shaded by new growth, absorbs more sunlight. By day 150, the global average temperature has risen by 2 degrees Celsius. Extreme weather events multiply. The jet stream wobbles. Monsoons fail or arrive with violent intensity. Coastal cities that never flooded now flood monthly. Day 151 to day 200, every plant species on Earth has a seed bank, dormant seeds waiting in the soil for the right conditions to germinate. But germination requires growth, and growth has stopped. Seeds that would normally remain viable for decades begin to rot in place. No new seeds are produced because no plant has flowered or fruited. The only seeds left are those stored in human seed vaults. Svalbard, the Millennium Seed Bank, 1,000 smaller repositories. They are safe, cold, and utterly useless, because even if you plant them, they will not grow. The world's existing plants are now the last of their kind. Every tree, every shrub, every blade of grass is a terminal individual. When it dies, its species dies with it. Day 201 to day 300. Here is the crisis that no technology can solve. 80% of human calories come from plants, directly from grains, tubers, and legumes, or indirectly from animals that eat plants. The remaining 20% comes from marine sources, but even those depend on phytoplankton, which are plants, microscopic, floating, and also not growing. Existing crops are harvested, but they are not replanted, because replanting requires growth. The last wheat harvest, the last rice harvest, the last corn harvest, these are the final meals of industrial agriculture. Food prices become meaningless because there is no food to buy. Governments ration existing grain stores. Within weeks, global grain reserves are exhausted. The world's population, accustomed to 90 days of stored food at any given time, watches those stores vanish. Starvation does not arrive everywhere at once. It arrives first in import-dependent nations, then in subsistence farming regions, then in wealthy countries. By day 300, an estimated 2 billion people have died. By day 365, that number has doubled. Day 365, 1 year without plant growth. The earth is still green, but it is a dying green. Forests stand as skeletons waiting to fall. Grasslands stretch brown and crisp. The oceans are clearer than they have been in millennia because the phytoplankton have stopped multiplying and the water has never been emptier. Oxygen has dropped to 18%. At sea level, it feels like being at 2,000 meters elevation. People are tired. Their thinking is slow. Fires burn more weakly. Engines run less efficiently. But the planet is not dead. Bacteria still grow. Fungi still spread their mycelium. Animals still cling to existence. And somewhere, in a refrigerated vault in Norway, 100 million seeds wait for a signal that may never come. The signal is growth. The signal is spring. The signal is a single root tip pushing through a single crack in the soil. Without that, nothing else matters. And that is what would happen if no plants grew on Earth, not an explosion, not a sudden silence, but a slow, methodical unmaking of every system that depends on the simplest act of life, one cell dividing, one root reaching, one seed breaking open to face the light. A world without plant growth is not a world without plants. It is a world without tomorrow.
I'll be back.